Hello, friends, and welcome to the podcast of Thunder, the podcast where we can talk about TV, shows, movies, all of the above. We're counting down. Wicked is upon us. Once again, we said it on last week's episode of It Stinks. It has been categorized as one of the best movies of 2024. We had so many great movies. Will it live up to the hype? So much to talk about right here on Instinct. Let's go ahead and dive into it.
Quiet on the set. Can we
Now,
please have quiet on the set?
It stinks.
now, I know on last week's edition of It Stinks, we said we were going to talk about Tulsa King, the episode that came out on Sunday, and talk about From, the two episodes, because we didn't really talk about From last week. So we're going to talk about the one from 2 weeks ago and the one from last Sunday. But unfortunately, today, It Stinks fans, if you're here for Tulsa King, if you're here for From, then you need to go ahead and hit the stop button now and read in the description box, because today we're going to get to those two shows next week. And I hate to put them off, because they're two great shows that I truly enjoy watching. But today I wanted to talk about two other shows that I've had a chance to watch on the Peacock, NBC, Peacock app, of two great shows up there that have been killing it, that may be those hidden gem shows that you just have not paid attention to or have had a chance to watch. And it's a bunch of those hidden gem shows. Fire Country on CBS. It's great. You got Agatha all along on Disney Plus. It just wrapped up. Good season. I'm gonna do Agatha next week also. Agatha kind of didn't end the way I wanted it to end. It kind of loses you on episode 4 or 5, but we'll talk about that more when It Stinks next week when we do Agatha, From, and Tulsa King. But so many great shows on these apps, and two of them on the Peacock that if you're not paying attention, they'll slip under the cracks. Linus over there on Paramount Plus. That's another good one to start watching. Also, you got the one on Netflix that me and the Boom Boys, mouthing off with Mike, the Prez Michael D, and podcast Smitty Shannon, will be doing an It Stinks review of the Mr. McMahon episodes on Netflix. We're in the process of playing it. I think right now everybody has watched it, have seen it, taken notes. Some of them be in the process of planning with the guys from Boom to do a It Stinks special edition where we talk about that Mr. McMahon documentary on Netflix. But the two shows I want to talk about today are on NBC or the Peacock app. One is called Irrational, another one is called Found. Let's look at the Irrational first. For all of you TV watchers who like a show that's a thriller, a mystery, psychology, sociology, using all of those 110, 112 courses you had to take in college that you really didn't like, Psych 150, Sociology 160. For all people who like those type of courses, like those type of things, this is a show for you. It's based off the teacher who is a professor at a college. You have Jesse L. Martin, who plays Professor Alec Mercer, who is a professor that teaches psychology and sociology at a local college to students. And he's teaching these lessons, but he's been also brought on to help out I want to say the show's based out of DC, the DC Police Department, either New York, one of those two areas, based out there to help solve crimes or to help get in criminal minds to get them to confess to crimes by using psychology and using sociology traits and tactics of figuring things out. If you're into that type of stuff, this is a good show. And it was one of those shows that I thought would be what I call the It Stinks sleeper, because we saw the second season. First season was great because we got the back end story that the reason why he has the scars on his face because he was at a bombing in a church that he was going to visit for a rehab meeting and ended up going through all of that. So he's telling the story of trying to remember the pieces of who was the person who came into the church and set off the bomb. But you get the other backing stories of him going through a divorce. He's also now the person he's going through a divorce with, his ex-wife, is the chief of police at the police department that he's assisting, helping with these crimes. He finds a new love interest out in season 2. She gets kidnapped. He finds a way to get her back. Just a good show if you like psychology thrillers, or if you like those mystery shows that you have to really watch it to help Professor Allen or Jesse Omar, who plays Professor Allen, solve the case. Then this is the show for you. I would say definitely for you. I turn a lot of people on at my job, and a lot of people in the area around here would ask, what's a good TV show to watch? I told them about The Irrational, and a lot of people have came back and gave me great reviews saying they truly enjoy it. It's a good show. If you're more of you want action to solve it, then stick with your PDs, stick with your 911s, stick with your Chicago Fire, stick with all that stuff right there, SEAL team, stick with lioness, stuff like that, if that's what you look. But if you're somebody who wants to look at analytical ways of how a crime is solved, this is a show for you right here. Once again, Jesse Elmore just does an outstanding job playing this professor who in the daytime teaches students. And at night, he's helping the police department solve these crimes or get in these criminal minds to help them confess or figure out why they took the steps to do what they did. So that right there is a very good show on Peacock or NBC to go back and catch up on. It's only 2 seasons. They're not that deep into season 2. Within a good Saturday, you could binge watch everything and be caught up for this week's episode that's coming out on tonight. So definitely go check it out and be able to tune back in tonight to watch the week's episode. Now, our next show, and this show right here to me is the one I really wanted to talk about the most on today's episode, because it's a show that when it dropped on the NBC or the Peacock or the Cock as we call it around here, when it dropped on that, I was like, this is going to be one of these shows. Either it's going to be really good or it's going to stink and be really bad. But you felt with the cast that was in this show that it could not flop, that it would build to where it said now that every Friday when I come home from a football game, I catch up on my SmackDown, I go straight to Found and watch it. And just because it's now getting to a point where the show is really hitting its strides of telling those stories. And you know me, if you watch Instincts or every Wednesday at 10 a.m., I'm a big fan of storytelling. That's why I watch pro wrestling storytelling. When I watch all this stuff, I like to see the character or the hero go on the hero's journey for redemption. And that's what Found is all about, because you start off season 1 and you have Shanola Hampton, who plays Gabby Mosley, and we're going to give a little bit more history of the show, going on the hero's journey, and you're rooting for her. You're cheering for her. But on the last episode of season 1, you find yourself now cheering for the villain, who now is on a hero's journey. You're saying, whoa, let's pump the brakes. Let's really re-examine this. And the hero and the villain is played by no other than Mark Paul. Everybody knows who Mark Paul is. Marky G, off Saved by the Bell, Zach, off Mixage. He was Bo's dad on Mixage on ABC. And when I saw that Mark Paul was going to be on this show as an executive producer and as an actor, and shout out to him going back and doing a lot of work with NBC to kind of be on a lot of shows for NBC at this point in life. Because he's really been kind of sitting back doing more of the executive producer. But when I saw that he was going to be on the show, I said, it can't be bad, because Mark's a good actor. And Mark's not going to sign off to be a full-time cast on a show that he feels like it's going to flop, especially he's got his name written on as an EP. So as I was saying, as the show turns, you now start going for cheering for Mark, because now he's on the hero's journey, and Gabby, who is Shanola Hampton, is the villain. Very good show. Let's really take a dive and look at the back end story. Not going to spoil it all, but just going to give you enough to go watch it so that you can get caught up. And this will definitely be one that's going to start being in rotation right here on It Stinks. So, Gabby Mosley is a high school student. She's struggling with a dad who's bothering addiction from drinking, not get attention. Very brilliant and bright high school student. Mark Paul plays the antagonist of the show because Gabby's the protagonist. Shout out to English class. Plays the antagonist who is Sir. Sir is what he's known as on the show. He's never. We found out that his real name is something Huey, Mr. Huey, but he is a teacher. He ended up being Gabby Mosley's high school English teacher. He really takes a clinging to Gabby due to her brilliance, due to her reading, very intellectual reader. She comes, has lunch with him throughout the day. She tells him about her life. He just really gets concerned that with all this going on in her life, how's she able to be this brilliant, bright, smart kid, keep straight A's, know how to hold a very intelligent conversation with adults. He gets very impressed with it. So he takes it upon himself to kidnap Gabby. But he always says, I did not kidnap you to hurt or harm you. I kidnapped you to take you away from your father, to experience you to more things in the world, to open you up. So when he says open up, reading more books, having those intellectual conversations, learning more about the world, just educating her and pouring all of this wealth of knowledge he has into her. And it kind of reminded me of the book I read back in middle school, The Giver. You remember The Giver? Jonah had the assignment of being the giver, the job he didn't want. The giver was the custodian of the memories of the town. And the giver had to give Jonah the memories. So that's kind of what this show puts me in the mind of, that book right there, because Sir is giving Gabby all of these books to read. You name it. She's kidnapped, living in a house out in the outskirts of town, but she's free to roam around the house, free to read. She just can't leave the house. So as the show builds on, we find out that Sir also kidnapped somebody. He told Gabby when they flash back to when she was a child, I'm going to find you a friend so you won't be lonely in the daytime when I'm at work. So he goes and kidnaps Lacey, who becomes Gabby's pretty much adopted play sister, and they're both kidnapped. So as the show builds on, we know that Gabby and Lacey, they escape. Now Gabby and Lacey, two grown women, are running their own consulting firm for finding missing people, M&A Associates. The M stands for Mosley, and the A, I forgot who they stand for. I think it stands for a dad or somebody, but they're running that. So it's kind of like a rogue police department that people go to Gabby to find missing people. That's her thing. Hey, I was a missing person. I got away from my capture. I know what needs to be done. I can get in the mind of what these people are thinking. I know how to get out. So all that plays a part of it. So Gabby's now this well-vested, well-liked person. She's solving these cases. She's beating the PD. She's making the PD look bad. Brent Dalton plays Detective Mark in this show. He was in Chicago Fire as Lieutenant Pelican. So he's over here on this show. So it's going good. She's making that. Brenton and Gabby end up hooking up, end up becoming lovers. Next, they split. A lot of sideline stories. But it gets to the key point of the show is when we find out Gabby's not solving these cases. Sir is, and I'm sorry, that's a spoiler right there. Sir's solving these cases because Gabby now has captured her kidnapper and has him kidnapped and captured in her basement. Sir. So we're thinking in the first 4 or 5 episodes of season 1, Gabby's solving all this stuff. Like, wow, M&A is really doing. They're rocking and rolling. They're rocking out. Gabby's a rock star. She's finding these missing people, reconnecting them back to their family, bringing them home. Welcome home, as she say. But we found out it wasn't Gabby. It was Sir. And her team all has a dealing with being a missing person. You got Gabby. She was kidnapped. Lacey, her sister, was kidnapped when she was with her. Lacey's not her biological sister, her play sister, but they call each other sisters because they were both kidnapped together. You got Zeke, who's a computer whiz. He was a hacker. He was kidnapped. You got the other guy. What's his name? Dan. Dinan. I can't never say his name. But he was kidnapped, and as a kidnapper, he got out. Then you got Margaret, whose son went missing, and every night she goes to the train station, waiting, hoping that he would return back to her. So you got all that going on. So it builds up to where Gabby finally tells the truth and confesses that Sir is solving these cases. Everybody spirals out of control. What do you mean, Gabby? How's he solving these cases? Sir is kidnapped in my basement. I kidnapped him. He's the reason why I'm able to solve these cases. It's not me. It's Sir. Spirals out of control. Season 1 ends. Sir's gone. He's MIA. He's got out of the basement. Going into season 2. Gotta push through season 1 because some of those episodes you're gonna be like, I'm ready to get to the next one. But season 2 now, Sir is free. And he's playing mind games with Gabby. But here's the funny thing about it, why I really like the show. No matter how much Gabby thinks she's not like him, this is why he kidnapped her. All those years he was pouring that knowledge, giving Gabby those books to read, Romeo and Juliet, The Three Musketeers, The Odyssey, you name it. She was reading them all. He was planting in her. He was giving her all his tools to do what she did to kidnap him. So now he wants Gabby to go off with him. It'd be just him and her. He said, we're meant to be together. I'm still your teacher. You're still my student. And even though Sir now could be gone, could be out of the picture, he's a free man. He's not trapped in the basement. He's not a captive no more. Every episode, he finds a way to make contact with Gabby to solve the case. So that's why I say you start cheering for Sir, because now Gabby's this evil person that had him kidnapped, and he still now got away and finding ways to contact Gabby to help solve these cases, to bring these missing people back home to their family. Outstanding show. Very good. If you have not watched it, I encourage you to watch it. Very good show. And I'm gonna see who writes this show. It's written by I'm gonna butcher this one. Nakashi or Kara Carroll. Very good show. As I said, if you haven't watched Found, go check it out. If you have not watched The Irrational, go check it out. 2 psychological thriller shows and mystery shows that, it makes you have to go back to that site, General Psych 150 class, intro sociology class. For all the people who are psych majors or sociology majors, you went way farther than me. After that, I said, hey, I'm done with it. Don't got to take it no more. But it makes you dust back into those skills to see that conjugate behavior therapy. Conjugate behavior theory, I can't say that, the total didn't pay attention to those classes. To see all of that being used on these shows, solve these cases. 2 good shows by Peacock. Very impressed with them. I would encourage everybody to go watch them. But that's it right here for It Stinks. Don't forget, tune in next week. We got Agatha the Witch finishing that up right there. We have going to have 2 episodes of From and 2 episodes of Tulsa King right here on It Stinks. We'll be talking about Linus. So we have 3 episodes of Linus on Paramount. So this will be a very, very long show. It Stinks next week. But so much to talk about to play catch up on. But I definitely wanted to turn people on to The Irrational and The Found to give you something to watch over the weekend if you have nothing to watch. This is Shawn. I'm getting ready to sign off. Don't forget, we'll be dropping the special edition of It Stinks with my boys from Broome, my good brother podcast, Smitty Shannon, mouthing off with Mike and the Prez, Michael Davis. We'll be dropping that, talking about the Mr. McMahon documentary right on Netflix. This is Shawn. It Stinks, and I'll see you next week.